This is the Spectre Ballistics LPC, or Light Practical Carbine. This is a bit of a different video than I've done in the past because I can't really recommend this rifle since it's not being made anymore. The only way you could get one of these is if you borrow it from a friend or if you find one on a used marketplace. So I'm not recommending this set specifically. The point of this video is more to look over the kinds of rifles that Canada will have if things don't go our way. Now, I've made a video on the MRA Renegade in the past. That is one of the other kinds of rifles. They're very similar. I'll get into the differences later in the video. But this is a kind of receiver set that, should things not improve over the next year or two, will become very common in Canada. These rifles have become an interesting point of contention again due to the December 2024 Ordering Council, much like these rifles became semi-popular due to the May 2020 Ordering Councils. They fell out of fashion after May 2020 because a bunch of new legal semi-autos came out onto the market between 2020 and 2024. Of course, they just got banned, but I still think it's worth taking a look at this rifle specifically to see what the future of Canada could look like. We'll start the video by going over the rifle itself, and then we'll get into more of the discussion of what these rifles mean for Canada. The optic is the Vector Optics Constantine 1-10x LPVO. If you are curious about this optic, you can go check out the full review video that I did last week. I'll have it linked in the description. Everything else on this rifle is not made from the factory from Spectre Ballistics, except for the receiver set. And the reason for that is because this is a receiver set. It's meant to take all of your AR parts and make them into a not banned rifle. And how do they do that? Well, it's a straight pull rifle. So, every single shot, you must pull the bolt back and push it forward. The closest comparable to this rifle is the MRA Renegade. The difference is that there's no springs in this one. It is more like a traditional bolt action where you have to ride the bolt back and forward. Now, as you can see, the lower receiver does not have the buffer component. It is literally just the trigger pack and the magwell and the safety selector. That's it. So, it will take all your standard AR triggers. This one just has a trigger tech in it. And although I don't like trigger techs in semi-autos, this is the one place where I actually do like trigger techs, because the reset isn't a problem on this, and the brake is really nice and light. It makes for easy shots at distance. This does have just an ambi mag release, but again, you can put whatever mag release you want in this. Now on the inside, you can see that there is no receiver spring. It is a free moving bolt. And in fact, this bolt is not caught on anything, and it relies on the friction of a magazine in the magwell in order to not move back. Now this is both good and bad. The good thing is that it makes it really nice to operate the bolt. It's super smooth, and it feels more like a normal bolt action, which is desirable. However, it's bad because getting it into battery is way more difficult than a normal bolt action. In a normal bolt action, the position of the bolt handle is perfectly in line with the way that you're operating the bolt, right? It's typically towards the back of the bolt. Now, if you look at this, the charging handle is in the middle of the bolt on this, which means whenever you're pushing it forward, you have to go further forward than you're expecting. And this takes some getting used to. And it also means that sometimes the bolt will get hung up. You'll think you're in battery, but because of the friction from the magwell and the round in the magazine, you'll feel like you're locked in. You pull the trigger, but it's just ever so slightly back, and it's not going to hit that firing pin. So in comparison to the MRA Renegade, in theory, I think this is a better system. In practice, it's not. So like I said in the intro, I can't really recommend this rifle specifically, one, because the receiver set is discontinued, but also two, the parts that you would theoretically put on it could be completely different. So it's not really applicable to really any kind of normal review. The point of this video is this is what we could expect if things don't improve. So a straight pull rifle like this in the Canadian market, even before 2020, before the May 2020 OIC, it did actually have a place. Because if you look at this and you know Canadian gun laws, you'll think, oh, that's an SBR. But it's not, because it's a straight pull manual action rifle, and it does have an FRT for it. Meaning that the only thing that makes this restricted or prohibited is the overall length. And this is well past the 26 inches of overall length. So you can plop on any of the common short SBR barrels, and now you have a short or shorter than a normal non-restricted semi-auto rifle that still shoots common cartridges in any AR style rifle, but it can be hunted with. It can be shot on crown land. Now, for crown land shooting, like if you're just shooting the shit, this is not really ideal. You may as well just get a longer 18-inch barrel, but if you're hunting, and let's say you want to use obviously a more powerful cartridge than a 223, then yeah, you can go for it. You can build into that. The friend that I borrowed this from has another one that has it in 50 Beowulf. So yeah, you can make these in basically anything that you want. So it has its own appeal if we were to stick with the pre-May 2020 OIC firearm laws. So why do I say if? The repeal of the May 2020 and December 2024 ordering councils is the easy part. It can be done basically day one if they really wanted to. But it will have to be done by October 30th of 2025, or it's October 25th. It's one of those two dates of 2025. Because after that date, or whichever one it is, hundreds of thousands of Canadians will become criminals overnight, because they will be in possession of prohibited firearms. And they can't go forward with the confiscation program because it will cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Actually, no, it'll cost billions of dollars, not hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, and it will be literally impossible because the vast majority of them are non-restricted and they don't know where they are. That's why the confiscation hasn't happened in the first place, and it will never happen. So the repealing of the OICs is something I fully expect. But if the Firearms Act gets rewritten, and their promise, at least in their party convention, is to have a simplified classification system, which means there are no name-based bans or no name-based classifications, meaning an AR-15 with an 18.6-inch barrel will be non-restricted, while anything shorter will be restricted. The use case for these does diminish a bit. It very much limits it to use cases where you need a smaller rifle that is still non-restricted that you would like to hunt with. Even if the Firearms Act doesn't get rewritten, there's still a very niche option for that kind of thing. I can't really recommend a rifle like this, i.e. a manual action AR style rifle, and that's because there is guaranteed an election in May. On one of the Mondays in May will be the election date, and the Conservatives are almost guaranteed to win a supermajority, barring some unbelievable catastrophe. They are going to win a supermajority. So they're going to get in power, and they're almost certainly going to repeal the May 2020 OICs. So you'd essentially be buying a receiver set for you to use ammo in a rifle that is not ideal to what you probably are looking for. It doesn't make sense for anyone to buy one of these right now. But if we look to the future, this is what we'll have. We'll have straight pull with either springs in the back or not, like this. Or we'll have pump action rifles, which do exist. You can buy them right now, but they're pretty pointless. They don't work for our Canadian gun laws for the majority of people unless you are really wanting a super shorty barrel to go hunting with. But then I just question why. It'll be more expensive if you were to do a build like that. It'll be more expensive than just buying a Ruger American in whatever cartridge you want, or a Tikka, or insert bolt action here. It just is a super small niche, and they're super hard to recommend. So, should you buy this rifle? No, not really. You shouldn't really buy a used version of this, or any rifle like this, at least not until the summer. Save your ammo for when you can actually shoot it in a gun you want to shoot, later in the summer or the fall. There's no point in buying one of these right now, but it is important to look at what Canada could have, and to remind people to vote to save their firearms and their hobbies. Otherwise, you will be stuck with this. So that is it for this video. I've got a few more videos coming out over the next month or two. A lot of them are about 22LR stuff, but there's going to be some variants as we drift further into the year onto more than just 22LR. to start the year, things just kind of fell into my lap in that 22LR things would be happening. So that's just the way it's going to be. But otherwise, that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.